The restaurant was so quiet that even the clinking of a spoon against porcelain seemed louder than it should. She sat there with her hands trembling, fingers interlocked so tightly her knuckles had turned pale. The words barely escaped her lips, a fragile whisper breaking through the thick silence, "I'm so sorry for him." Her voice cracked, raw with emotion, almost too faint to be heard, yet it carried the weight of everything she had endured, humiliation, fear, and the desperate attempt to shield the man sitting across from her. And then, when she braced herself for scorn, for mockery, for rejection that she had already grown used to, something unexpected happened. The CEO, the very man whose decision could change everything for them, laughed. Not in cruelty, not in mockery, but with a warmth so disarming it spread across the table like sunlight breaking into a room long locked away in shadows. That laugh, deep and genuine, brought something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Sparkles, before we go deeper into this unforgettable story of kindness, resilience, and second chances, I'd love to ask you something from the heart. If you believe in kindness, redemption, and the power of second chances, please like this video, share it with someone who might need it, leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Kindness. Your support helps us bring more true-to-life stories that touch the soul. Sparkles. Her name was Alina, and for most of her life she had carried the burden of protecting her younger brother, Zion. Their parents had passed away too early, leaving her, at just 19, to become both sister and guardian. Zion had a brilliant mind but a fragile heart. His anger often spilled out in ways that cost them friends, jobs, and sometimes even meals on the table. While Alina sacrificed everything to keep him afloat, Zion stumbled more than he stood. By the time Alina was 27, she had grown accustomed to cleaning up after his mistakes. Tonight was supposed to be no different, or so she thought. The invitation had come unexpectedly. A company dinner, not something people like her usually got called into. She worked as an administrative assistant at one of the country's most powerful firms, where the CEO, Ibrahim Raza, was known for his intimidating presence. He was the kind of man people only whispered about in the corridors, sharp, calculating, untouchable. Yet, against all odds, her hard work had caught his attention. Her persistence, her quiet dedication, and perhaps her silent endurance had placed her name on his list of employees he wanted to meet personally. It should have been an evening of recognition, a chance for her to finally be seen not as the girl cleaning up messes, but as a woman who had fought every battle alone and still stood tall. But fate had its cruel timing. That evening, Zion had shown up unannounced at her tiny apartment, his eyes red from frustration, his hands trembling as if holding secrets too heavy for him to carry. He begged her not to leave him alone, begged her to take him along. Against her better judgment, against every instinct that screamed this was a mistake, Alina agreed. She thought, perhaps this time, if he sat quietly, he could see her world, maybe even find inspiration to rebuild his own. The dinner was in a 5-star restaurant, a place where chandeliers dripped golden light, and the air was scented with luxury most people could never afford. Executives sat in tailored suits, their voices polished with confidence. Alina had worn her best dress, simple but graceful, hoping it would help her blend in. Zion, restless in his seat, kept tapping his fingers on the table, his gaze darting around like he didn't belong. She whispered to him to stay calm, to let her have this one evening. But trouble found them quickly. A waiter accidentally spilled water near Zion's chair, and his temper, already fragile, broke loose. He lashed out, words sharp and humiliating, drawing uncomfortable stares from every corner of the room. Alina's face burned with shame, her heart pounding like a drum of panic. She reached for his arm, pleading under her breath, but his anger rolled louder, accusing, defensive. And then, silence. The CEO himself had arrived at their table. Ibrahim Raza, tall, immaculately dressed, with a gaze that could silence a boardroom, stood just a step away. Alina wanted to disappear. She wanted the ground to open and swallow her whole. And that was when she broke, her voice trembling as she bent her head, whispering words she had spoken too many times before, "I'm so sorry for him." Those around the table braced for Ibrahim's reaction. A man of his stature, interrupted during a company gathering, embarrassed in front of executives, surely this would not end well. Yet what followed was something no one could have expected. Ibrahim's lips curved, and then came that laugh. A rich, unexpected sound that startled even Alina. He laughed, not at her pain, not at her brother's mistake, but as if the tension itself was foolish to hold on to. His laughter melted the stiffness in the air, scattering the judgmental eyes, easing the room like rain cooling hot, cracked earth. He pulled out a chair, sat across from them, and began talking, not about work, not about the mistake, but about food, about family, about how no one was perfect. He spoke with the ease of a man who had seen enough of life to know that scars and flaws were not burdens but stories. Slowly, even Zion's anger ebbed, replaced by the confused quiet of someone who wasn't used to being met with compassion instead of condemnation. Alina sat frozen, watching something extraordinary unfold. For years she had carried guilt like armor, believing every mistake Zion made was a reflection of her failure. But Ibrahim's laughter had undone that, if only for a moment. He had not dismissed them, had not humiliated her, but instead invited them to share the meal like they belonged there too. The evening turned into something no one at the table could have scripted. Ibrahim asked Zion about his interests, and though hesitant, Zion spoke of his passion for sketching, something he rarely admitted because people called it useless. To Alina's surprise, Ibrahim listened intently, even sharing how his own brother once struggled until he found his path. By the time dessert was served, Zion was sketching Ibrahim's portrait on a napkin, the CEO laughing heartily as he teased about looking far too serious. The room, which had begun with tension and shame, was now filled with unexpected warmth. For Alina, the night was a revelation. It wasn't just Ibrahim's kindness, but the realization that maybe she had been wrong all these years, wrong to think compassion and dignity were luxuries reserved for the flawless. Wrong to think that a mistake always spelled the end. Ibrahim had shown her that one moment of grace could rewrite an entire evening, maybe even an entire life. In the days that followed, something remarkable happened. Ibrahim called her into his office, not to reprimand her, but to thank her. He told her that strength wasn't just about being perfect, sometimes, it was about enduring, about still showing up despite the storms. He offered Zion a chance to contribute his sketches to the company's creative projects. It wasn't charity, it was belief, the kind Zion had never received before. The siblings' lives didn't magically transform overnight. Zion still struggled, Alina still worried, but there was a shift, a subtle yet powerful change. Zion began sketching more seriously, waking up early to draw instead of drowning in frustration. Alina walked into work with her head held higher, knowing her CEO didn't see her as just the girl constantly apologizing, but as a woman with courage. And every time she remembered that dinner, she could still hear Ibrahim's laugh, warm, unguarded, reminding her that light could enter even the darkest rooms. And maybe, that was the real message hidden in that unforgettable evening. Kindness has the power to disarm anger, to replace shame with dignity, to turn broken dinners into cherished memories. Sparkles, if this story touched your heart even a little, please like this video, share it with friends, leave your feelings in the comments, and subscribe to Kindness. Your engagement helps spread these stories further, reminding the world that kindness is never wasted. Sparkles. Love letter. Before we end, I have a special request for you. Comment below with these words: kindness changes everything, if you believe that one moment of compassion can transform a life. And as Alina walked out of that restaurant that night, her hand gently resting on her brother's arm, she realized something she had almost forgotten. Hope does not come roaring like thunder. Sometimes, it comes quietly, hidden in a laugh that turns a heavy meal into a memory of joy.